Tonight, Sydney Sutherland, the young nurse from Jackson County, Arkansas, and the family who was forced into the national spotlight for all of the wrong reasons.
She said, then I'm going to go run it. And I was like, Sydney, don't run today. She goes, it just releases me.
The 25-year-old went for her run on Jackson County Road 41.
He called me right after 5 and he says, have you seen Sydney? Something just was not right. My heart just dropped.
The Sutherlands are a close family in the small agri town of Grubbs, Arkansas. Maggie and Dion Sutherland had 3 children. Their 2 sons came first, Tyler and Sam, but later Maggie would give birth to a daughter named Sydney. Sydney Sutherland endeared everyone close to her with her energetic and charismatic personality, and she was as beautiful as she was bright, graduating from high school in 2014 as an outstanding senior. She loved the color pink, sports, exercise, family, and most of all, her nieces, who called her Aunt Sassy. 25-year-old Sydney's best friend was her mother, Maggie Sutherland. They rarely left each other's side. According to Maggie, even when the pair attended sporting events, Sydney often elected to sit with her mother instead of her own friends. She went on to study nursing right out of high school. She earned her LPN license and then began her career at a local medical center. While there, she continued to study and ultimately received her RN license at ASU Newport, a town not far from her hometown. Sydney once said, "The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away." And that's what she did. Her gift was nursing and nurturing everyone and anyone. She loved life and was known to brighten a dimly lit day with her unfading smile. It was constantly shining, never trimming down and never flickering. And like her nickname, she was Sassy. Her Facebook post on July 24th of 2020 proves just that. She jokingly posted a meme that read, "If I'm ever murdered, just know that I ran my mouth to the bitter end." But less than a month later, this post would reveal itself to be a truly haunting entity in Sydney's story, one that her loved ones would never forget. Late Tuesday night, August 18th of 2020, the Sutherlands returned home to their separate farms after a family vacation in Florida. It was a place the family was known to frequent in order to spend some much-needed time off. On Wednesday, August 19th, at 2 p.m., a day after they returned from their trip, Sydney told her boyfriend, Alex Nicholson, who lived with her, that she was going out for a run.
She said, then I'm going to go run it. And I was like, Sydney, don't run today. You know, we've been gone, rest. You left a trainer. You did an hour hard workout. Why would? She goes, it just releases me.
And it was true. Sydney firmly enjoyed exercising, and the way she took care of her body was proof of that. So without heeding her mother's warning, she headed out alone down County Road 41 South near Highway 18 in Grubbs, Arkansas, population 301. Sydney knew everyone in the small farming town. She'd grown up around many of them and gone to school with most of the local people her age, and almost everyone in Grubbs was a farmer. They all attended the same community events together, so no one was really a stranger. The area is small and rural with very little crime. The most unlawful activity you're likely to find in Grubbs is a little missing gasoline siphoned from a tractor in the middle of the night by some teenagers. A town like this was safe for everyone. A quick run, and Sydney's smile would be back before dinner, or so she assured her boyfriend Alex.
disturbing truth will continue in a moment.
I make true crime content for a living and to help amplify the voices of the voiceless. Even before I was a creator, I watched this type of content and documentaries constantly. I'd rather a good doc than a Hollywood blockbuster any day. And that's why I'm proud to have this video sponsored by Magellan TV. Magellan TV is a documentary-based streaming service that was founded by filmmakers. It also happens to have more true crime documentaries than any other platform out there, including a bunch of cases that I wasn't even familiar with. With up to 20 hours of ad-free content added weekly, there's no end to the content you can watch on Magellan TV. I'm currently about to finish The Family Inside the Manson Cult that tells the terrifying story of how Charles Manson was able to turn a group of hippies into a controlled gang of bloodthirsty killers that would do anything he asked them to do. It even features the first ever interview with the Manson family getaway driver. And after that, I'm going to start a series called Undercover Asia. But remember, it's not just true crime with Magellan TV. They've got packed categories like history, science, space, travel, and more. In a nutshell, Magellan TV is simply ad-free documentaries on demand that you can watch from anywhere. TV, laptop, tablet, phone, whatever. The app's even compatible with Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Google Play, and iOS, so you can take it with you on the go. And it doesn't cost much. Annual memberships are just $59.88 or $4.99 a month, and that gives you access to over 3,500 hours worth of quality documentaries. You can even stream them in 4K. If you want to check it out, Magellan TV are offering the Disturbing Truth followers 1 month absolutely free. All you gotta do is click the link in the description or pinned comment down below.
Welcome back to The Disturbing Truth.
An hour passed by. No sign of Sydney. 2 hours passed. Still nothing. When 5 p.m. rolled around and Sydney still hadn't returned, Alex began to worry. He called Maggie to see if she'd heard from Sydney, but she hadn't. And every time they called the 25-year-old's cell phone, it went straight to her voicemail. Something wasn't right. This was totally unlike Sydney Sutherland. The concerned loved ones gathered together with their local family and scoured the area for any sign of Sydney, but ultimately came up empty-handed. She just disappeared without a trace. Worry began to stretch into deep concern as the Sutherlands called the Jackson County Sheriff's Office to officially report Sidney Sutherland missing. The sheriff, David Lucas, had known the family most of his life. He watched Sydney grow up, and even he knew it was totally out of her character to be gone that long without letting her loved ones know. If the family were concerned about Sydney being missing and they believed she was potentially in danger, then he did too. Sheriff Lucas called in reinforcements from the neighboring cities of Tuckerman, Newport, and my hometown, Jonesboro. He also called upon the Newport Department of Corrections, Arkansas State Police, the FBI, and the people of the community to help find the missing woman. The search began immediately. Soon after, a UPS driver came forward. He stated that he'd seen Sydney running down the road that day. Then Sam, Sydney's older brother, received a phone call in which he was told that a local farmer, Quake Llewellyn, had seen Sydney on the overpass near County Road 41, heading south toward home. With the update, they now had a point of reference for the search. They continued the search until about 2 a.m. Thursday morning before the group finally took a break to rest and recover. They'd been trying to track Sydney down for quite a while without a shred of luck. They were tired, and the darkness made the search difficult. But with Sydney still out there somewhere, I doubt anyone close to the Sutherlands could sleep. A few hours later, at 7:30 a.m. on Thursday the 20th of August, the party, consisting of hundreds of searchers, began to scour the area again, hoping to find something that would lead them to Sydney.
Hello, good afternoon to you. I'm Mitch McCoy, 342 now at KRK4 and Fox 16 in Little Rock. We have been following breaking news throughout Jackson County most of the day. Claire Kreitz has been on the ground up there. Claire, this is something that you are monitoring very closely as we know that the search for this 25-year-old woman, Sydney Sutherland, gets underway. Tell us and bring us up to speed on what's happening up there.
Yeah, Mitch, I'm going to flip the camera for you guys to give you a better look at what's going on. You can see there are horses out here. There are ATVs. This road has been extremely busy, which, you know, this is a rural area. So normally this is, you know, pretty quiet over here. You can see where all those cars are. That's kind of the staging area for the search. There's a better look at those horses. I know it's a little blurry, so bear with me. But yeah, searches have been happening all day. People are coming from across the community trying to help out. Law enforcement agencies from across the community. I'm going to show you, once this car passes, I'm going to show you where Sydney Sutherland was last seen. So this is Highway 18 that we're on right now, and I'm going to walk across the street. Jackson County Road 41. This is where Sydney Sutherland was last seen, this county road. This was a typical jogging route for her, walking route, and she was last seen jogging on this county road near Highway 18. Again, by a UPS driver. That is who saw her jogging. She was in black shorts and a white tank top. But people have been out here all day just searching these fields. Again, a very rural community, just trying to find anything that they can. Just trying to find any sort of evidence, anything out of the ordinary. It's been an all-day effort.
Multiple law enforcement agencies now involved in this search effort. Walk us through the mind of some of these searchers. We know that they were searching all night. We know that they stopped briefly in the overnight hours just because it got too dangerous, but they started as soon as that sun was coming up. What's going through the mind of investigators, searchers? I know that they're probably tired, but they're not giving up.
No, nobody is giving up here. I've talked to a lot of people out here, from people that knew her or know her and say that she is just the kindest person ever and they want to find her. From people who are just complete strangers are out here and they're just so heartbroken by this story and they want to do anything that they can to help out today. Like you said, they went into the early morning hours, about 2 a.m. and then they started back up about 7 this morning. I talked to a guy, sorry, it's loud on the street, but he's, helping on his day off. And he heard the story on the news and he just wanted to be out here. He was on a 4-wheeler going up and down the fields, just trying to find anything that he could.
They organized a grid to search every farm and homestead in the community. They methodically investigated every crack, crevice, hole, and structure, doing everything they could to find the beloved missing glow of their small-knit community. Tirelessly, the Sutherlands asked the same questions over and over. Where could she be? Why haven't we found her? Unresolved questions. Questions asked with no sign of answers. But unbeknownst to the family, there was a wolf in their midst. Someone in the search party knew exactly where Sydney was, but the cowardly mutt stood silent and said nothing, all the while wearing the skin of a concerned citizen. During a break from searching, the group replenished themselves with food and drinks. Members of the party offered the family support in the form of refreshing hope and encouraging words. One tall, burly farmer stood near a tree, listening intently to the rest of the group's chatter near the command center. Maggie Sutherland knew who he was. His name was Quake Llewellyn. He was the farmer who claimed he saw Sydney running the day she went missing. She walked over to him and asked if he'd seen anything or anyone out of the ordinary. And when she questioned the young farmer about what Sydney was doing when he saw her, Quake answered, she was just running. Then oddly, the lurking 300-pound man hugged Maggie Sutherland, and the conversation was over. But a good mother's intuition is one of the only true forms of magic I've ever witnessed on this planet. When a mother insists she knows something or has a gut feeling about one of her loved ones, especially her children, you'd have to be a complete and utter fool to ignore her. Maggie knew. I don't know if she knew what she knew exactly, but her instincts told her something was off. She went back to the group and told them about her conversation with Quake Llewellyn. She reported, something felt odd. She was sadly about to learn just how in tune her intuition truly was.
So we knew the last sighting of her was at the interstate headed home.
By Quake.
He just walked up and just stood by a tree. And I said, Quake, can you tell me anything? What was Sydney doing? Did you see anything unusual? Did you meet anybody unusual? He goes, no, she was just running. I said, you don't have anything you can tell me? No, she's just running. He just kind of gave me a little hug.
He gave you a hug?
Gave me a hug.
What did that feel like in that moment?
It was something felt odd. I walked back over to the group and I was like, something's wrong.
Later that night at around 8:20 p.m., Sydney's cell phone was found about a quarter mile from her home. She was so close to safety that it hurts to even think about. The phone was intact, but there was still no sign from the missing 25-year-old.
And good afternoon to you. I'm Mitch McCoy, almost 1 o'clock here at KRK4 and Fox 16. We are standing by for a live picture. A news conference is scheduled to begin any moment here.
When this case first originated, the community really stepped up. Once word got out that Sidney was missing, we had people from all over the county, also adjoining counties, that were calling and coming over saying, hey, whatever you need, let us know, we'll do it. And like yesterday, we had about 150 volunteers on the ground yesterday, and that's normal what you'll see in these smaller communities. These folks really step up, you know. Small community, there's a lot of love going on. I've been in law enforcement 30 years here, and of course we take every case serious. We work every case as hard. I mean, from one case to the next, we work them all at the same level. This case is more for me because it's kind of personal. I do know the family, know them well. I know Sydney, watched her grow up. She went to school with my girls, and that's what normally in a small community like Jackson County, that's what you wind up with, is every once in a while you'll get a case, and it's kind of personal for you. And that's where it's at with me on this. Really the only updates that I can give is to confirm that her phone was found yesterday. We're still following up on that as far as trying to develop any potential leads, and we're working on some current potential leads right now that we're checking into. I can't elaborate on what those are, but we are working on those. As you know, this is a collaborative investigation with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, Arkansas State Police, along with the U.S. Marshal Service and the FBI. She has not been located, and our efforts to find her are still ongoing at this time. The phone was located in an area just north of her residence, probably a quarter mile, and that's the area that we've been concentrating on. I can't really elaborate on the leads that we do have, but we are working on some stuff, yes.
It got dark quickly, causing the search to be called off for the evening. The next day, Michael Llewellyn, Quake's dad, escorted Quake to the Arkansas State Police to inform them of his sighting of Sidney the day before. Michael had been the one who called Sam earlier with the information Quake said he had. The Llewellyns gave the cops permission for Quake's truck to be searched, and they made a haunting discovery. There was blood in the cracks on the tailgate. The following day, on Friday, August 21st of 2020, the search group resumed at 8:30 a.m. The grid search continued from farm to farm and home to home. On County Road 41, Maggie discovered a bead from Sidney's bracelet.
We were down on our hands and knees, crawling on the ground, and I was like, I found a bead. Sidney's been here.
Mrs. Sutherland felt hopeful. They were close to finding her daughter. Then at about 2 p.m., the sheriff informed Sam that he needed to gather the family together. A body had been found. With a sinking feeling, Sam knew it was his sister Sydney, and now he'd have to break the news to his mother. He drove from the overpass to Maggie's house with a heavy heart. Mortified, Maggie Sutherland was devastated by the loss of her baby, her only daughter, and her best friend. Sidney Sutherland was found only 1.5 miles from her home, a mere 2 days after she'd gone missing. The crime scene was a neighbor's farmland. Due to the state of her body, scientific testing was needed to confirm what everyone already knew was the truth. They all knew that Sidney Sutherland, the beautiful, intelligent, carefree angel in pink, was gone. And not just gone, but taken, stolen, ripped away from those who loved her by someone they all knew. DNA test results later confirmed the family's worst nightmares were true. Sidney Sutherland's cause of death was listed as multiple blunt force injuries. No further explanation was ever given. But one has to wonder, after only 2 days, Why did authorities need DNA to confirm her identity? What exactly did Sidney's killer do to her that made her so unrecognizable? The same day, just after 6:40 p.m., Sheriff Lucas confirmed that a suspect had been arrested and taken to Jackson County Jail. He was charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, rape, and abuse of a corpse. Why would anyone want to do this to Sidney? She made life so much more beautiful for anyone she encountered. She didn't have enemies, so why the brutality? Was this just done in the name of destruction in order to dismantle something valuable and precious? No one knew. The suspect, 28-year-old Quake Llewellyn, the farmer who had wrapped his arms around Maggie Sutherland the day before, was the one arrested for the brutal murder of her daughter. A daughter that he helped search for, knowing damn well where she was the entire time because he had put her there. Quake Llewellyn was a third-generation farmer from the area. Michael Llewellyn had adopted him when he married Quake's mom. Like Sidney, Quake had also graduated from Tuckerman High a few years before her, and he knew the Sutherland family very well. The Llewellyn family were well known themselves and had even been awarded Jackson County Farm Family in 2016. There was a magazine article written about them, so Quake and his family were no strangers to the community. And although he lived a few miles away in Jonesboro, he and his family owned farms in several counties, and he tended to them. Oddly enough, at the time of the murder, Quake had been married to a single mother by the name of Gracie for about 2 years. She had 3 children already, making Quake a stepfather. Luckily for her, they had no kids between them. On Facebook, Gracie and Quake Llewellyn seemed like happily married soulmates, but I guess, like the rest of Grubbs, she learned that the devil may walk among you unwelcomed and unnoticed, and he may appear so warm that you invite him in. Now, I've seen people online say, how could Gracie not have known something was off about her husband? Well, I'll tell you how. People like Quake Llewellyn are sneaky little creeps with evil intentions that only surface when they want to fulfill a deadly urge. That urge, that violent compulsion, is their life's purpose. It consumes them until it's all they live for. It's all they think about. And everything they do is for the sake of achieving that sadistic objective and keeping their sick fantasies a secret. Look at that loser Dennis Rader, aka the BTK killer. His wife had no idea what kind of monster she was sleeping with. He would send letters to the police and media taunting them after his crimes. Rader's wife noticed one of his taunts in the paper one day and remarked that the killer misspelled a certain word the same way he does. Luckily for her, she never mentioned that again, but in Rader's testimony at trial, he said if she had, he would have got rid of her no problem. And they were together for 34 years. He was the president at Christ Lutheran Church, heavily involved in his local community, and the father of 2 kids. He also installed security systems, and no one had a clue. But you may say, but MrBlack, BTK was smart. He killed 10 people. Quake is just a big dumb redneck with a stupid name. He killed 1 person. He's no serial killer. Well, I'd have to agree with you about the name. Apparently Quake's parents let him pick that himself when his stepdad adopted him. But as far as BTK being smart, if you've ever heard testimony about what happened during his crimes, you'd see that he was ridiculously careless and downright stupid at times. It blows my mind that that guy wasn't caught sooner. And I believe Quake Llewellyn would have had other victims too. I believe, at 28 years old, this creepy mutt was just getting started. Quake was 28. Dennis Rader killed his first victim when he was 30. If you ask me, Quake picked the wrong family to mess with, and the Sutherlands made him pay. It's very possible that Sidney and her family stopped a would-be serial killer. Unfortunately, the cost they incurred is a debt no loving family could ever willingly afford. Rest in peace, Sidney Sutherland, the angel in pink. With the help of Sidney's phone and Quake's phone, authorities were able to put Llewellyn at the scene of the abduction and track him back to his farm, 1.5 miles from Sidney's home, which is where they found her body. They also used video from his own home in Jonesboro showing Quake leaving in his truck. When he returned later, there was a dent in the hood, and he can be seen in the video inspecting the damage. At first, Llewellyn admitted that he hit Sidney with his truck. According to an affidavit on October 16th of 2020, Quake Llewellyn, a 28-year-old 300-pound man drove past Sydney Sutherland, who was out running on Highway 18 between Grubbs and Newport, Arkansas. He quickly made a U-turn, went back to her location, and ran her down in his truck. It was his only chance of catching her. Quake probably knew she'd outrun him on foot. And to be fair, most people could. I doubt Quake could have run the length of himself. So, by his own admission, Llewellyn rammed Sydney with the front of his vehicle and threw her in the back of his truck. He later recanted his confession, claiming it was all just an accident. Then at a plea hearing, he pled not guilty. As the details came to light, Gracie Dawn Llewellyn wasted no time in distancing herself from that mangy mutt. She filed for divorce on August 26th, claiming general indignities, including abuse, contempt, and neglect. But on September 4th, she filed an amended complaint changing the statement to just general indignities. After that, I'm guessing she just tried to forget about him. To my knowledge, she has never spoken publicly about her life with Quake Llewellyn, and I don't blame her. I'm sure she wondered how she could have ever unknowingly let a psychopath into her home and around her children. She probably thinks she's lucky to have escaped herself, and I bet she wonders how she didn't see the devil inside. These are all questions any of us would ask ourselves. But personally, I hope Gracie knows that none of this was her fault. In a strange twist, I discovered that Gracie is now engaged to my childhood best friend. His mom was once married to my uncle. His older brother is my half-cousin. I reached out to see if she had anything to say, but I was never met with an answer, nor am I owed one that she isn't willing to give. She's not a suspect. She's not responsible. She might be another victim in some way. So leave her be. Don't go looking for her. Let her move on with a man I know personally and believe would never cause her any harm. Gracie, I wish you all the best. Before the trial, Llewellyn was ordered to undergo a psych evaluation to see if he was competent to stand trial. According to him, he accidentally hit Sydney with his truck, and she was unresponsive. He claimed he thought he killed her on impact and would get into trouble, so instead of calling 911, he placed her in the bed of his truck and took her to his farm to conceal the body. According to Dr. Lacey Willett, the psychologist appointed to review him, Quake drove to a nearby rice field where he began to undress Sydney. Whether she was alive or dead at this time, we simply don't know. But his intentions for stripping her down and taking her to that location were for, as he stated, messing with her a bit. When Quake was asked to elaborate, his attorneys butted in and wouldn't let him explain. But it's believed that he raped her on the back of his truck where the blood was found. Quake said he dug a hole in the rice field to bury her because, in his words, that was just where I was and where I was going to begin with. As if Sydney didn't deserve any more thought than that. As if she weren't somebody's beloved daughter, sister, friend, and highly valued community member. Then afterwards, Quake just went about his business of checking on the wells in the rice field, then drove home, ate dinner, acted normal, and just tried to forget about it. Dr. Willett said Llewellyn told her that he went to the police, letting them know he was the last person to see Sydney alive in hopes it would mask him from being considered as a suspect. She also reported that he had joined the search party via a Facebook group devoted to finding Sydney. It's believed that Quake moved Sydney's body a couple times as the search parties got close. What a heartless piece of shit. Dr. Willett's report concluded, "It is my opinion that at the time of the alleged conduct, Mr. Llewellyn did not manifest symptoms of mental disease or mental defect." Her report also said that Llewellyn didn't have a history of mental illness treatment. He was found competent to stand trial for kidnapping, rape, capital murder, and abuse of a corpse. On August 30th of 2020, an anonymous acquaintance from Jackson County told Today in Fort Smith that Quake Llewellyn had always been trouble. According to this source, Llewellyn had been caught when he was younger peeking into women's bedrooms and bathroom windows trying to catch them undressing or showering. They also claimed he was obsessed with young girls, even going as far as to stalk them. The anonymous complaint said Quake had to be warned away from the person's own niece. The source went on to say that rumors Llewellyn put cats and small animals in the microwave to watch them die aren't just rumors. They're true. They claimed someone should have done something about Llewellyn, but stated that his parents were good people and not the ones to blame for Quake's actions. The source finished with, "Quake is the monster." This reminds me of Beth Thomas in a way. Could Quake have had some kind of attachment order that led to adult psychopathy? Who knows? And with the mess of information surrounding attachment disorders, I'm not even sure that's how it works anymore. Either way, it doesn't change his monster status. Even if Quake Llewellyn ever was a victim, he's still an adult that is very much evil. We have a code of conduct on this channel. Once you're of a certain age, if you create a victim, you become a monster and you lose your victimhood. We have no sympathy for evil. Prosecutor Ryan Cooper sought the death penalty. I tip my hat to you, Ryan, and Maggie Sutherland agreed, saying,
"He deserves the death penalty. He is a monster, an evil monster. She did not deserve any of that."
When asked if they could ever forgive Quake, both Sam and Maggie said, absolutely not. And who can blame them? They will forever miss that special light in their lives because of his selfishness and sick self-gratification. Sidney's murder was pointless. She touched so many people every day with her light, her kindness, her compassion. And he, who contributed nothing positive to this world, attempted to turn out her light. And in some ways he did. But when a star dies, the light lives on for years, and so will Sidney's, in the hearts of those who knew her, as well as those who didn't, for generations to come. Hatred grew for that thick mutt that killed Sidney Sutherland. When he was transported to the courthouse for hearings, he wore a bulletproof vest and was surrounded by several officers for his own protection. I'm sure many of these officers detested putting their lives on the line for this mangy hellhound. On October 1st, 2021, Quake Muttface Llewellyn pleaded guilty to all charges, effectively worming his way out of the death penalty, a mercy not afforded to innocent Sidney Sutherland. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Quake Llewellyn, 2020 suspect in the 2020 rape and murder of Sidney Sutherland, has accepted a plea deal. Prosecution defense came to an agreement that he will plead guilty to rape and murder. He will serve life without parole on the murder charge, life on the rape charge. He will spend the rest of his life in jail with no chance of getting out. The family of Sidney Sutherland says this is the best outcome in this case. However, real justice for Sidney would be her being here.
For Quake Llewellyn to be held accountable for my daughter's senseless murder. Today, we have pleaded guilty to murder and raping her and will spend the rest of his life in prison. But true justice for Sidney, my daughter, will be here for her to be here. Would be for her to be here. Just thank you all, and just justice for Sidney. Thank you.
They all had impactful speeches that they wanted to say to Quake Llewellyn. Now, Maggie, Sidney's mother, she, at the very beginning of her speech, she told Quake to look at her. She said, "Can you look at me while I give my speech?" And she talked directly to him, and Quake did look over at Maggie while she gave her speech about losing her daughter. Like I said, it was so much sadness, there was so much crying, but there was also a sea of pink. All of the family and the friends of Sidney Sutherland were all wearing pink in support of her, in honor of her and her family.
Today, Llewellyn, now known as number 178660, is housed at Varner Supermax Prison in Grady, Arkansas, Lincoln County, near Pine Bluff. His prison record doesn't show any disciplinary violations, but that's not surprising, as I doubt he stalks anyone in there. He's lost about 60 pounds or so since being incarcerated, but hopefully that's just because he's getting his meals jacked by the big boys. Maggie Sutherland told The Sun,
"I don't know what he got out of that, because he took a beautiful life, a young woman who had a bright future. He was very cruel to do what he did and the way that he did it. She was not yours to take. Satan is real."
She told Quake during the victim impact statement in court.
"The hands you hugged me with are the same hands you killed her with."
Sidney's father, Dion, told him,
"You're a 300-pound coward that hit my 100-pound daughter with a 3,000-pound truck."
Sidney Claire Sutherland was laid to rest on August 28th of 2020, just weeks before her birthday. Because she was so loved by many, her funeral was live-streamed for all to see. The angel in pink will not be forgotten. A bright pink cross now designates her final resting place. On August 27th of 2020, The overpass in Jackson County that goes above County Road 41 was renamed in her honor. Immediately following her demise, her community started the very first Finish Sydney's Run 5K, a fundraiser to remember an intelligent young woman who was brutally taken from a community way too soon. The event occurs annually in her memory. Proceeds from the run go to the Sidney Sutherland Memorial Scholarship Fund for future students pursuing an education in the medical field at ASU Newport. In August of 2022, the Sidney Sutherland Foundation surprised Jackson County School District teachers with $50 gift cards. Sidney had attended and graduated from Jackson County School District in 2014. Teachers often pay out of pocket for their school supplies, but this year, thanks to a guardian angel in pink, they were honored with gift cards to help with some of their expenses. In September of 2022, the second annual Miss Sassy pageant was held at the ASU Newport Auditorium. Proceeds benefit the Sidney Sutherland Foundation and Scholarship Fund. Sidney, aka Aunt Sassy, had been in many pageants herself. Maggie said they were fun and relaxing for her late, amazing daughter. This year, the pageant was the beginning of a 2-week celebration of Sidney's life. The annual Finish Sydney's Run followed, accompanied by kids' events, live music, and fireworks. Maggie wants this celebration to honor the way her daughter lived, with grace and generosity. In simple ways, by little measures here and there, Sidney Sutherland will live on in the hearts of all who love her. She'll continue to touch lives as she did when she was here physically. Long live the amazing angel in pink. I'm Mr. Black, and this is the disturbing truth.
Sidney Sutherland of Tuckerman, Arkansas, departed this life on Wednesday, August 19th, 2020, at the age of 24. Her senior quote was, "The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away." And she shared her many gifts throughout her 24 years. The memory of Sidney's beautiful smile, sparkling eyes, kind heart, and loving spirit will live on in the hearts of her loving family and her many friends. Aside from our heroic law enforcement teams, literally hundreds of volunteers left their work and rallied together to find her. Countless others brought food and supplies for those who were out searching. This was a testimony to the impact that she has had on this community.
When you're alone in your bed, try not to think with your head. Imagine a place where your heart beats instead. You better keep your eyes closed and try to imagine me there. You with the milk chalky eyes. Tell me how your garden grows. Tell me 40 things I should know. Don't be afraid. Set a place for me aside. You better keep your eyes closed. Ever you feel lonely,